Yo, guys, what's going on? Lucky Cheese 7 is back again to give you guys another Eden Zero Manga chapter live stream discussion. The summer season's finally here, and with that means I finally have some time. I finally have some time to kind of get things back into how essentially how the channel was prior to November. So now it's kind of like my chance to be like, yeah, let's go ahead and talk about Eden Zero. Now, having said that, I do want to say this. The last chapter I did was chapter 190, and I haven't talked about chapters 191 to 193. Normally, what I would do is I would talk about chapters 191 through 193 if I'm falling behind. But 194, I know, caused a huge thing in the Eden Zero community, especially on Twitter. Comments I saw. But not only that, I'm particularly tackling chapter 194 because it's also the last chapter of volume 22. That is something I think everybody needs to keep into account here is that this is the last chapter of volume 22, not the one that just came out, not volume 21, but the next one that's going to be releasing here soon. And having said that, I'm just beating around the bush in terms of actually talking about the chapter. Like, what are we like? Almost like 2 minutes in. So let's go ahead and actually dive into chapter 194 with this nice, beautiful cover page of Sister Ivory with her poses, if you will. Very Ivory like, for sure. 194, the ether of all things. And right off the bat, continue off from where we left off with Clown and Killer standing right next to Lobelia. Lobelia looking like super scared, shouting somebody. But then you got Killer saying, "No need for screaming. You're going to end up dead either way." Oh, stop it. Lil Kill, you put far too little thought into aesthetics when it comes to death. What? Death is a sublime event. A human's death is the final of that person's story. Let's make her death real beautiful. Yeah, I don't care. And what I thought was pretty cool is as soon as this part happened, Moscow actually comes in to save the day and protect LeBlanc. And at first, when I saw this, I was sitting there going like, "Yo, did Moscow just have a badass moment?" I don't know why. It's the first thought that crossed my mind. I was just like, wait, hold on. Moscow actually had a badass moment? That's okay. We're moving places. Because she's like, you have ability saying Moscow, you got Killer looking agitated and annoyed, then you got Clown. Ah, yes, you're with the four shining stars. Your sister's valet. Oh dear, after I chose a classy term for you. Oh, yeah, and then he's like, I'm her minion. I'm her minion. And Moscow says, Miss Labelia, it was a massive mistake to leave the safe room. "I- I'm sorry." Couch was like, Libby, over here. Couch, but like, it doesn't matter. We need to get away. And interestingly enough, you see that, and Couch was looking directly at Moscow, so I ain't saying we're gonna get a Couch Poe and Moscow ship, but if you know anything about Hero when it comes to his ships, normally refer to anything. So it could just be one of those like one-off things. But I don't know. The fact that we got like a close-up shot on both of them, like that she was looking directly, I don't know. But then Moscow says, "What are you lightweights doing on our ship?" And Clown's like eliminating Sister and Hermit. That's what we were made to do. And he's like, deal with me instead. They're busy with a more weighty mission. And Here's the thing. When he says that, he's about to push the button that specifically push, specifically said, "Do not push." And as soon as that hits, he starts freaking out because he hears, "Don't push the button, you filthy pig." Obviously, that's going to be Ivory. But that kind of gets me wondering, what does that button do? Because it looks like it's a situation where something big will occur, but it's gonna come at a cost. What that cost is, I have no idea. But we see Ivory showing up. I hear you wanted to see us, you little brats. Brooding without, or not brooding, brooding, boarding without authorization. You won't get away with that. And then Moscow's like, Miss Sister, Miss Hermit, uh, are you all right? How are things on the front lines? Jin and the others are handling it, and they have Holy to help. And then Clown's like, well, well, this saves us the trouble of finding you. Killer, looking mad confident. Ivory, all right, it's been a while since I've gotten to bust some heads. And then Hermit, battle dress requip. We will now eradicate all enemies on board. I gotta say, the battle dress mode for Ivory looks pretty sick too. I sentence you to remodeling. Turn you both into crapers. And Clown's like vulgar woman. And then you got Clown, or not Clown, Killer. Use your aesthetics to pretty her up in death. We get to the spaceships with the battle that's taking place with the dragon and the Eurasian Galactica. No, Interstellar. I'm getting them mixed up because Justice is a part of the Interstellar. So we see Elsie's fleet. What the hell is going on? What is Justice ship doing here? Did you betray us? It wasn't me. Obviously, and I always blank on these two guys' names, but the two who are like, well, I wouldn't call them maids, but you could say they're like maids-ish, servants, if you will. I assume you've let them know we're allies. We've done everything we can. We really did have no idea. We didn't know the Union Army would go this far. And funny enough, we could come back to Angel. Attention, all ships. As of now, Elsie's fleet plus the Eden Zero have joined forces with Holy. Justice Sword is starting to treat them as as friendly ships. And then Eraser. Roger that. And something I thought that was interesting is you see the ship called Angel Feather. Then you see Eraser ship, which is known as the Hot Eye. And then you have Feather ship, which is called Racer. But he knows if we don't shoot, we'll be shot at. And then you get Kier's ship, the Brain Dust. First of all, or no, first we'll take care of these dragons. Act Noella has unleashed. They're doing all that, they're taking care of the ships, and then we cut back to Elsie and Justice. How long are you going to make me sit here like this? And then you got Justice. Normally I would have restrained your legs and neck as well, but be glad I only tied your hands behind your back. And oh my god. Okay, I know Hero when it comes to the humor side of things, so I shouldn't have been that surprised that this was coming, but the fact that it was from Elsie, I was like, well, actually, no, I can't say I was like super surprised because there was that one instance after they battled Ziggy on Grandel, and there was that whole battle chapter that they had in the spa with Rebecca, Hamora, and Elsie. Okay, that was more so Hamora and Elsie, but just funny timing. So it's not to say that Elsie doesn't have her comedic timings. or moments, if you will. But the timing of this one, I was just like, all right, I know I shouldn't have expected that, but I expected that. At the same time, it's weird. Do prisoners not have the right to wear clothing? And the reason why I found it so funny is because you immediately get Justice's facial expression, and he's like blushing in realization. Like, wait a second, what? What are you blushing for, James? Are you only just now realizing that an innocent maiden is sitting before you half naked? Innocent maidens don't become pirates. And as soon as that's done, they both catch something, and they like the tension shift just like that. Something's coming. Th- This isn't good. Stay here. Hey, remove these restraints. That idiot. This isn't funny. He keeps me. If he keeps me tied up, I won't last 10 seconds. And he looks over, sees the dragons over the city of Lindard, and then you see Ack Noella. God, Ack Noella. Cut over to Shiki, who's running around. So, this is a virtual dimension that he created, referring to Killer, obviously. Hello, can anyone hear me? Please respond. Obviously, getting no luck. Master, and that catches his attention. Like, Peanut, where are you? I'm in a cage with Mr. Happy. D- do you know where? Analyzing, I've located Miss Rebecca and Mr. Weiss in this dimension. Uploading coordinates. Data received. Pino and Happy are closest. I'm on the way. And as that's happening, as he's heading towards that direction, he catches something. And he says, "What? It's happening again. Memories are flowing into my mind." And that's something I also kind of I noticed too, because um in the other chapters that came out, with chapters, oh my god, what was it? 191 specifically. You had a couple moments like this because in the one before that you had a flashback-ish moment with uh Wizard and Witch. And then in 191 you kind of had a little bit of a glimpse of Brigandine and Valkyrie. And then it looks like, based on what I'm seeing, we're getting Killer and Hermit. Either a power that flows through all things when it reaches its critical point. We call that overdrive. So, for example, if the ether of this rock reached its critical point, do you think it could overdrive? You always have the strangest perspectives. And then that's what Hermit's saying to Killer. And Shiki's like, Hermit. Still, maybe theoretically possible. Or still, theoretically, maybe possible. It would be true for everything: mountains, the ocean, this whole planet. If something's ether reaches its critical point, I think it can overdrive. And as soon as that part comes, then we immediately shift back over to Clown, Killer, Ivory, and her. I don't know why I just blanked on that at the moment, but yeah, we cut back to the ship. Running subdimension program. He's trying to, and I actually like this because now we're seeing like the tacticians battle it out. Hermit's like, "No, you don't." Scene manager disabling code. What? Amateur. Do you think you can beat me without even changing in the battle dress? Do you think you can beat me with a little wardrobe change? I'm designed to access the superior power of overdrive. And like he's like Killer is going in like with no cuffs. Like he's going straight in. And something See, and as soon as this last page came up, oh my god, the weekend that the spoilers dropped, I didn't check spoilers. Like as soon as I saw that the Eden Zero spoilers were dropping, I was just like, no, I'm dipping out fast. I'm not sticking around to see what's being talked about. So I stayed away from the Eden Zero side of things for at least a few days. And then the chapter came out, and I read the chapter. And when I saw that last page, I was like, whoa. So then I checked back at the spoiler tags that some of my mutuals had. And oh my god. Let's just keep it frank. Hermit goes into overdrive, and oh my god. I'm gonna say what I said on Twitter. She looks absolutely drop dead gorgeous, hot, and sexy. I'm I'm being frank with you. She does. She looks drop dead gorgeous and sexy. Having said that though, let's keep it a buck. This is only just a transformation. I want everyone to keep that in mind. This is only just a transformation because okay, I can't blame anybody for the posts and comments I saw on Twitter afterwards, like after I finished reading this chapter. But for anybody who's read Chainsaw Man, specifically when it comes to Makima, y'all know the kind of reaction Makima has, both in story and IRL with with people. That's the reaction I saw people having with Hermit, and I was just like, "Yo, okay, look, guys, she looks fine as hell, but end of the day, it is just transformation. But it's still cool. Don't get me wrong. Seeing her in her overdrive form is like really, really cool. Not gonna lie. And based on her transformation, she's gotten taller too. Like now, well, you could argue she kind of looks. I see a little bit of a blend between a witch and a little bit of a blend between Rebecca somewhat, and at least with the way Hero designed her overdrive form, but it's still cool. And the bunny ears too, obviously. But the bunny ears were obviously like a central thing. And I think it makes sense that we get this, given that it's been 3 years since the Alley War, and we are in the Cade War. Which I'm still thinking about that. Still, like we finished up a war like 2 arcs ago, and now we're in the middle of another war arc. Like it's like we had the Alley War, cut to the 495 arc, and then as soon as that arc ends, hey, we're in the Cade War arc. It's like, oh, it's not a bad thing. It's just it's interesting just getting that. But it's interesting because you had Killer going in all hype, like, oh yeah, all you're doing is looking a little pretty with your dress. I'm not gonna do much in that. And Hermit's like, nope, I can be sexy too. Sorry. I'm channeling inner Twitter right now when it comes to the comments I saw because the comments were a thing. It's not a bad thing. I don't blame anyone for thinking that way. But having said that, Killer looking shocked, looking sweaty, like yo, Hermit though. And as soon as that happens, the last panel technically, like yeah, you get like almost the entire page is Hermit's overdrive transformation. But the last panel is actually Hermit saying, "So was I," and that's where the chapter ends. And this being the last chapter of the volume, I think, does a lot because, again, going back to the volumes here, and if we're to look at the recent track records here, so volume 19 ends off on 167. Volume 20 ends off on 176, and then this new volume that just or that's gonna come out in June, or yeah, that's gonna come out on Tuesday, is gonna be. Is it this Tuesday? I don't think it's this Tuesday. No, is it? Probably is this Tuesday. Yeah. Um, Friday actually. So yeah, so in just a week's time, volume 21, that volume ends off on chapter 184. So if we're doing the math correctly here, 194 is the end of this volume we're on. And to end off your volume on this note, I think is amazing. It's amazing because it gets you wondering, like, okay, what does Hermit's overdrive mode have that's very different from, say, Shiki's overdrive form versus Wise's overdrive form, Homura's, Rebecca, and considering that Hermit's one of the shining stars, I can only imagine what Ivory's overdrive form's gonna look like. Oh my god, that look design wise is gonna be something else. Like I already tell Ivory's gonna have something, you know, seductive in that case. But overall, with this chapter, with what we got, amazing. It's an amazing chapter of Eden Zero. The volume cover itself for volume 22, which I do want to go over actually, it's pretty cool. It's a pretty cool volume cover because you get Holy, you get Dead End Crow, you get Ivory. I'm actually surprised Dead End Crow because I have pictured Dead End Crow having a little bit of like blonde hair, but yeah, blue hair. I'm not complaining. I'm just like, oh, okay. Um, Interestingly enough, Ziggy's not on here. I would have expected Ziggy to actually appear on the volume cover itself, but that is what it is. Elsie's on the cover. You got Rebecca, Shiki, and Hamura. So, I mean, like I said, there's not a lot I can really talk about with the chapter because I feel like I already dived and shared all my thoughts on the chapter. Now, if you're curious about the last few chapters I missed out on, I thought Zombie Nurse was a really cool chapter, and a lot of those chapters, from what I noticed, was really centric on Wise and his whole situation with his mother. I thought that was really cool. Um, as a whole, I would give both the 191 and 192 relatively great to great plus ratings, and then 193 was titled "A Good Boy," which again ties back into the aftermath of Wise and Killer, but Clown appears and we completely skipped out on what Rebecca saw in her nightmare because assumed that's what we were gonna get in at the end of chapter 190. But I mean, here's the thing: the fact that he caught her in a void kind of gets me curious as to like what happened. Because again, Rebecca's like just out, and Wise and Pino are just trapped. Not Wise and Pino, Happy and Pino are trapped. You know, but 193, I would say, ultimately is an amazing chapter, and this chapter in particular, I would say, is amazing plus. It's an amazing plus chapter of Eden Zero. It's a great way to end off the volume. Super curious about chapter 195. How long do I think this arc has left? That depends because we still got Homura and Brigadine to fight. That's still going on. Shiki still has to get to Pino and Happy, and then there's still Wise, and of course Rebecca. So could it end next volume? You'd have to do a lot for it to end. But then again, I know when you've read Hiro Mashima's work since the Rave Master days, you start to notice a pattern when it comes to the way he structures things and the way the story flows. I think it's possible we could end off the war with what was I going to say? I think it's possible we could end off the war with volume 23. But we still have that confrontation with Ziggy. And I think that's gonna blend over into volume 24. So I want to say you have relatively, let's say like maybe 15, 20 chapters at most. I'm gonna say 15 to 20 chapters at the max is what I think we have left of this arc. And Hero already alluded to something when it comes to Ziggy. We're gonna get some kind of revelation. What that revelation is, I have no idea. And I may tackle a stream discussion just on that sometime in the future. But overall, like I said before, this chapter is an amazing plus chapter of Eden Zero. And I can't wait to see what happens next. And for anybody wondering, don't worry. The next chapter, now that summer's here, I'm going to start being a lot more frequent with these discussion videos. As far as live reactions go, it's still going to be a while because I'm still trying to get my study room set up and the other rooms that I haven't exactly tackled it yet with work and everything. But overall, you guys, I'm just going to leave it at that because at this point, I'm just rambling on with my thoughts. But one thing we know is Hermit's about to go in, take on Killer, and the confrontation we're going to get with this now, with her new overdrive mode, it's going to be interesting. So, with that being said, you guys, that's pretty much it. I'm Lucky7. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more Eden Zero, and I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.